Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Grev, and welcome once again to another Rip and Riz podcast. Joined this evening by Jace. How you doing, Jace?
Doing great, mate. We just dismantled Brighton. It's 3-0. Saturday evening. Lovely day. What's to complain about?
What is
and
to
you?
complain about?
You've been to the Emirates.
Me? I have been to the Emirates. I was playing, scoring goals. No, of course I was not. I went on the tour. Considering it's been around for a long time and not been on the tour, I feel a bit embarrassed as a fan, to be honest. But got a Father's Day present. Got to go in the dugout. Got to go in the director's box. Got to quote Foggin standards in the media room, which was frankly shocking. My Spanish needs some work. It was a good day. Mate. It did sound a bit well. I mean, accent's not my strong point. I can maybe do a bit of South African. That's about as far as it goes. Awful, mate. Awful. But, it was a good day out. I had a good time.
Yeah, it's a good doing the tour. I'd recommend it if you've not done it. Like, I did it 15 years ago. There's a picture of me sat in, the press conference bit, and I've got, big hair. I don't have hair anymore, so...
Big hair. We got a fresh trim today, right? That looks fresh.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I did this myself.
See, look at that. Look at this guy. Just notices things. I notice these things, Jace. Right, let's get into it because we're going to do this. This was another, like you say, 3-0 to the Arsenal away at what could be seen as one of our banana skins on the run-in, and it certainly was not. So before we get into all the stuff about the game, let's get into a Rip Roar review. Tell me, Jace. I imagine it's going to be good. So tell me, what is your Rip Roar review today?
Do I say it? Do I say it?
Whisper it quietly.
We're going to win the league. No, I think that was a title winning performance, right? I think that we have the best defense in the league. We score for fun. We dismantled Brighton today. We've taken 4 points off City. We've taken 4 points off Liverpool. And I completely agree with De Zerbi, which is we are the best team in the country. And I think that performance proved it. I'm feeling just, hyped, positive. I think it was a banana skin potential game. I think, taking your quote there. And I was slightly worried going in with Brighton. I always feel like that's a bogey place for us to go to the Amex. We always sometimes, well, not maybe last season, no, even last season, we won. It's always been a bit of a challenge, but we dismantled Brighton, and defensively we stood up to the test. We had no big challenge kind of challenges. I've got no complaints apart from I'd liked more goals, and our goal difference is pretty good anyway. So yeah, very happy. We're going to win the league, Grev. We're going to win the league. I believe it now.
I reckon, is that going to be your review, every match review that we do leading up to the end of this season, do you think?
No, not every podcast. A lot. Right. I'll intersperse it with we're going to win the Champions League as well.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair enough. Yeah. Battling on both fronts, you've got to, pepper those in. Bit of Salt Bay, bring back the Dubai trip and all that jazz. I like it, Jace. I love it. There's no name for this, unfortunately. So I wanted to just talk about the kit.
Kit?
Yeah, because everyone fucking hated this kit when it first came out. Let's be honest. The majority of people dislike this kit, but it is a kit that on the road we have been incredible. I don't know if this is true or not. I probably need to actually do some bit of fact checking on my own part, but I don't think we've lost in it. I know we lost against West Ham at home. Was it Fulham at home?
Why did you say that?
Did we lose against?
I don't know, right? But
was it who did we play in the Champions League group stage that we lost to? Lille.
Away, we play. Oh no, Lens.
Lens, but I reckon we wore red. I can't remember.
I think we might have wore dark green.
We might have wore green. We never wear the green kit, man. Anyway, the kit doesn't have a name, which is unfortunate because it would be like, the bruised banana, the cult kits of history past, and all those kind of things. That the big gold, those kind of the kits that we've got of yesteryear. This neon monstrosity, I guess. I loved it as soon as I saw it. Yellow is my favorite color, and I just every time we play in it, it's like I know I'm in for a good time. I know it's going to be great, and I know Arsenal are going to turn up and absolutely batter teams. And it's like you say, this was a title-winning performance in the neon monstrosity, and I'm all in for it. I absolutely love it, and I just it's different to what I'd usually talk about, I suppose. But I just kind of, as soon as I knew that we were playing in it, I was like, right, well, this is it, we're in. And I'm more. The problem is I'm excited, and I know that we can do the things that we need to do. We have got a couple more banana skins coming up, I guess, like Villa at home this weekend. Although I think Douglas Luiz is he got another yellow card today, so he's going to miss that match, which is good news for us. I think that team, they drew with Brentford today. I think we'll turn them over relatively easily, if I'm honest. It's Man United and Spurs that I'm worried about. And the only thing the problem is now we're just super reliant on other teams doing us a favour. Like tomorrow, Man United doing us a favour. Man United, I don't know how much of the game you watched in midweek, but it was just
I missed it. It was a cracker, right? I'm told.
It was prime Barclays, and it was incredible to think that at 98 minutes, Man United were winning that game with 8 minutes plus 8 minutes, and on 98 minutes they were winning that game to then lose it to 2 Cole Palmer goals and absolutely kamikaze defending. Anyway, absolute banter, and it's incredible. I love it. I'm here for the downfall and complete capitulation of Manchester United. I've signed me up all in.
Set for tomorrow.
Well, yes, precisely. And this is part of my problem. It's like they are so bad. I've got what am I thinking here? It was like when City played Sheffield United in midweek, and Sheffield United came in, they were 1-1, and you're kind of like, oh, could they? And it's like, no, they couldn't, because it's Sheffield United, and they're shocking and they're awful. Of course, Man City are going to turn them over, and so it's kind of like my head and my heart kind of swaying down the same way a little bit, but Ten Hag for life, bring it on.
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. It's Old Trafford.
Make it happen. Make it happen. If you believe it, it can happen.
Didn't who got dismatched? Didn't one of them win 7-0 against each other last season? Didn't United beat them 7-0?
There's no way Man United must have beat them 7-0.
Maybe it's the other way around.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's going to happen again. It's at Old Trafford, right? So that doesn't mean anything anymore.
Liverpool beat Manchester United 7-0 last March. So, but that was it.
That was bad Liverpool versus good United, supposedly, when United were supposedly as good as Arsenal. Ten Hag was the next one.
There you go. Do a bit of reversey.
How much money do you want to put on Man United beating Liverpool tomorrow?
None, because I don't like throwing away money, Jason. I like sure bets.
I have seen you in many a casino chuck money.
Throw it in the bin. I'll tell you what I would put some money on. A Scott McTominay goal. That for me, that would be good. Right.
All right. Well, we can only hope.
I know, but enough bashing Man United willing Liverpool to lose. Let's see where we go. Going to move on to our first topic. I thought maybe I might want to start with this one, Jace, just so I can roll off maybe some of my thoughts and feelings. And this segment is called "Beat Them Every Way You Can." And this came back to me as a quote from Rob Edwards in midweek. He basically said Arsenal can play every way. They can beat you every way and they can win every way. And I felt that this game in particular actually showed that in earnest. It was very much like whether it was a low block, a mid block, intricate play at our feet, long balls, direct. We had it all. And even at, say, 60, 70 minutes when we were 2-0 up, there were elements of our game that we just allowed Brighton to play the football that they play, because we were so confident in our ability to control the game out of possession that we just let them do it. There wasn't much in terms of other than Ødegaard, and like how the guy still continues to run the way that he runs for 90 minutes and press the way that he presses is quite a feat to see. But we weren't necessarily trying to put our feet in, trying to make challenges, trying to do the things that we usually do in a game where maybe we needed to score. We were just quite protective, and we played the way that we play. And we did set up kind of like a mid block against them, a low block against them. Both worked really, really well. They didn't really have a lot of chances. And even when they did get chances, Raya made a fantastic save this game. I think you text me during that save.
Yeah. I said £30 million that save.
That was... I mean, we talked ages and ages ago about Raya making saves and maybe not necessarily being renowned enough to be making saves yet. And that's the things you remember. He's making them quite often now when we need him to. And like for someone that obviously in games plays most of the football at his feet, and thus is probably having to not context switch like as an engineer or someone at work might do, but like to be resting during a game and maybe being a bit bored because he's not having a lot to do to make saves like that is quite good. So I'm just quite overwhelmed by the how Arteta has transformed this team into the beast that it is. It's like we were doing pods at the early part of the season where teams were setting up a low block against us and we were finding it nearly impossible to break down. We were finding it super challenging to get around them. We couldn't score. Everyone was screaming at us that we needed a striker. We went through a bit of a slump. Now it's like we've got the Swiss Army knife. We can do, the Allen key's not working. Let's go and get the spanner, or let's go and get the knife. It's like there's lots of different ways in which we are beating and playing against teams that is just quite incredible to watch.
It is. I mean, where was the knife against City, though? That would have come in handy.
Would have come in handy.
No, I agree. There was a couple of things in what I was seeing this week with just all of this bigging up of De Zerbi. How he's the next City manager, how Pep loves him. It got me. I think it added to my little bit of anxiety going into the game, and then game kicked in, and we were able to handle pretty much everything they put at us. There were a few challenges I observed that I think we need to talk about a little bit with elements of our defense, but nothing maybe that we haven't already discussed. We have been able to, as you say, consistently play that low block at 80 minutes. They had their most, what I would say, that was the most critical period. We were 2-0 up. If we let a goal in, then it's hard at the end of the game, right? And they were knocking at the front door. They kept playing around the box, from side to side and around the box. But as soon as they tried to penetrate the box, we just mopped everything up. And to your point, we're letting them play their game, as you said, right? So it was comfortable.
I only wanted to say just on that part, because there was a time when you and I were kind of really frustrated at that crescent play out on the outside of the box. Where it goes to a winger, can't make anything, go back out to the centre back, etc., and it moves that kind of semicircle around. Yeah. Imagine how I only really notice it so much when it's us, when we're doing it.
Yeah.
There was an element, when I saw it and Brighton were doing it, I was like, fuck. Like, if I was one of their fans, I'd be getting so frustrated with how the opposition were playing against us that we couldn't break them down. It was continuous. And it made me quite proud, to be honest. I hated it when other teams have set up in such a way against us, and it made us really difficult to strike against. And now it's like the opposite. We're so difficult to break down.
Yeah. But don't you love that about Arteta, right? How he is evolving. You are seeing our manager and his coaching staff evolve as well. Like, we weren't doing that. We didn't play that way last season. And we were the ones getting the low block. You could argue some of the reasons we didn't win the league last year was because we didn't have this tactical nous. And it seems that this season we've just gone a level and we have it. And so there's something where Arteta is willing to adapt into his game and take those learnings. And he's blending all of these different styles of football, I think, into one. You've got a bit of Pep in there. You've got a bit of Arsene Ball in there. You've got these elements of, dare I say it, David Moyes or some kind of British manager, whether it be an Aladici or a Sean Dyche, but like a way we're doing the low block. He's blending it. No, I'm not going that far. Standards, Grev, standards. I'm not. Yeah, I'm just seeing Arteta and his coaching staff evolve, and I think that's great to see. Just one other thing is, you mentioned Odegaard pressing at 80 minutes, and I was like, yeah, I saw it, and I was like, yeah, Jesus Christ, and I was like, stop it! You're playing Bayern Munich on Tuesday. It's a late kickoff on a Saturday, and we got Bayern Munich on Tuesday. I was like, stop it.
But
Slow
he
down.
does have such an incredible engine, though, doesn't he? Like he has rarely been injured. I think he had maybe a spell of maybe 1 or 2 games on the sidelines, and he just keeps going. I mean,
Yeah.
I was actually another thing I was going to mention to you. How are you feeling at 15 minutes into this game? Because the way we're talking now, we're waxing very lyrical about our play, our ambition. We won.
Yeah.
15 minutes in, I can guarantee our conversation may have been different.
Well, this is why we need to talk a little bit about the defense in a way, right? Do you want to talk about that now?
Go on, I'll move on to it.
Go.
So defense is the best form of attack, in my opinion, and that's where maybe you want to go.
So we got a lot of good stuff to talk about in regards to the defense today overall. But there was one vulnerability. It's going to sound like I'm doing this again. I'm continually talking about Zinchenko when he plays. And look, he had a great game against Luton. But Luton, let's be honest, I actually thought we should have absolutely smashed Luton. If we'd had our first team out, we had 5 changes against Luton. I felt we'd have absolutely annihilated them. Like, they got off lucky. They could have had an absolute hammering. They were not good. And Zinni played really well in that game. Why? Because, as I said, it's a game that we could afford to play him in a utility role. And I can stand by my comments, which is he's a really valuable player to the squad. He can play left back when he needs to in certain games. There are other games when he'd be better off in the midfield. Today, what I saw in the first 15, 20 minutes was an overload on the right-hand side from Brighton with the kind of counter-attacking. We had a lot of the possession and then they countered. When they countered, he was overrun. And that's what made me really nervous. And I just think that we have evolved. If you look at the fact that we've identified that Georgie can now play with Deck in the middle, and he can do a good 80 minutes, and then Deck can support and cover, and you've got Partey coming off the bench. When you've got that level in midfield, we're less reliant on that invert. We're less reliant on it. And I think that you can afford to play a Kivior, a Tomiyasu, or a Timber at left back. And I think that we are defensively stronger as a consequence. So I would rather see Zinni coming off the bench and dropping into midfield and taking Jorginho off for 20 minutes at the end of the game and giving him a rest if we're going to keep playing him, because he's again, red zone for someone at that age with fatigue continually playing. It's that kind of thing that's the only observation about our defense that I have. And it's not to try and criticize Zinni, it's just the reality of what happened, right? Did you see the same thing that I saw?
Yeah, I did take some notes to Zinni. There was a point towards the end where it felt like the pace of the game was passing him by somewhat. There was elements where we've actually seen the same mistake from him previously, where he wants the keeper to come out for the ball, so he shields a defender off, for example, and it gets a bit of a mix-up, and it can cause. I'm sure in last season we had one like it where we did concede, and there was one where he just waits for the ball, and it's like, go to the ball, and he lost it twice doing that same move. I love Zinchenko. I still feel he offers a lot of value, and I don't feel that selling him is in our best interests. It's just you're right, maybe against this like Sheffield United, Luton, Burnley, Everton, those type of teams. I feel that there's an element that Zinchenko can do. There are occasionally mistakes within him, I feel. And he probably was the weakest of our back four in today's game. I know that's not saying a lot, because I think all of the rest of them play at such a high level that
consistent.
It's hard. It's hard. And I think if you were Kiwior, you would probably be a bit frustrated that you didn't get a start this game. Like I say, I feel that Kiwior needed a rest. Luton was a perfect game and opportunity for us to do that with Zinchenko. And I feel Kiwior deserves to come back into the side. I think Kiwior, and part of the reason why I think Zinchenko did start this game is because we are playing Bayern Munich on Tuesday. And I feel Kiwior is going to come back into that game. 4 centre-backs against Bayern Munich feels to me a better setup than the overload in midfield.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at what Arteta is also doing, right, is that he doesn't want to make too many changes to the squad in pretty much any of the games in regards to the starting lineup from now to the end of the season. I think you're going to see a pretty consistent squad unless there's, and I don't think there are any real easy games. Like Luton was probably the last one, right, where you could say maybe Everton on my last. Is it Everton on my last day? But
Bournemouth is like the penultimate. I think that one's probably ish, but Bournemouth was still pretty good. So they just as it tapers towards the end of the season, you're going to find teams more on the beach than not, depending on who you're playing.
Yeah, but then
we've seen some final games of the season, where they're like 6-7-0 because some of those teams just don't care.
But we ain't taking chances if we're in a league title running and the points is tight anyway. No. So we're going to be playing pretty consistently the same team to the end of the season. And so today he could have brought Kivior on right forward, didn't he? But he brought Tommy Yasu on. And I think that's all about giving these players where they can the minutes that they need to have some form of fitness in their legs. Because again, I could keep touching that stupid MDF shelf, but we don't want any players to get injured. But if one does, we do need people adequately available. Yeah, so come on, let's talk about the centre backs then, because I know that you have, you just want to talk about Gabriel and Saliba again, right? The consistency, but go on, elaborate on this for me.
Well, I'd Saliba stood out for me. Like I say, what is there to be said that's not already been said? It is difficult to kind of elaborate any further than the kind of lyricalness that you've already gone through over many months of podding together. But I would say one thing that struck me in this game in particular was Saliba channeling his inner Bilbo Baggins, going on an adventure, because he did feel to me like he was marauding more in that centre position. And I don't know whether or not it's the change in role for Declan Rice in this game, where Jorginho played the single pivot and thus Declan had a bit more free reign and ability to control the game in spaces that he wanted to, and thus maybe it allowed Saliba to travel with the ball more. And there was maybe 3 or 4 occasions that I saw him do it. And his progressive passing was actually quite strong, like in the phases of play where he did it. And it just feels quite different because we're usually seeing him and Gabriel, Rice, or Jorginho, or Partey just play triangles and play around themselves, go out to Zinchenko, go out to Ben White. Not a lot of it goes through the middle. We're not very direct. And like I say, we did use the Swiss Army knife a little bit today and try different ways of playing. And that really stood out to me. And then secondly, just he's so damn calm. This is the bit I just don't get. Like, a lot of defenders would literally capitulate or melt under the pressure that these players are under. They are in an absolute dogfight title race where it's like every week now, the who's top is changing. Every game, someone else is top. So we're first, we're third, we're second, like it keeps changing. And like these players have never dealt with that type. Like last season, we were just top all the way through. We were cruising until we weren't, and he was the player that was out. Unfortunately, and part of the reason why we didn't. And he's so like, he just walks around like nothing's happening. It's so unbelievably casual. It's like the type of football that me and you play, because that is casual.
It's the way I mean, I wouldn't compare it to us, mate. You can't compare.
I'm a different breed, Jace. Me and Saliba were like 2 peas in a pod. I think that you like Saliba too, but you wanted to maybe mention Gabriel, right?
Well, one thing before I do, the thing with Saliba you mentioned, for me, it's a vibe. It's a vibe. If you look at Gabriel, there isn't like a chill vibe. There's not a very like relaxed vibe. He's aggressive. He's in your face. He's shouting whatever abuse at you. Like
Saliba's like your stoner character who's like he's chilled.
It's just mellow.
Gabriel's like an absolute monster who wants to kill people.
But the interesting thing, right, is the chemistry between them. Do you see there's like a video going around? I think they did one of the Sky or one of the EA Sports like kind of quizzes, basically where they had to basically get the same answer to score a point. And it was like the chemistry between them in that, between Gabriel and Saliba, and they were asking the questions. They were like, basically, who's like the most like technically gifted player in the league? And like, and Gabriel basically went to Saliba. He was like, looked at him, and then went and he just said, "Look into my eyes." And then Saliba went, "Oh yeah, yeah." And they both wrote down, and then they flipped the charts, and they both put Doku down. I was like, just that That kind of like they just imagine, but it sounds they've probably talked about it, right, and gone like talked about Doku or something offline and or before, and so they're kind of like trying to remind each other of a conversation they had. But the point is, imagine if they have that on the pitch for lots of different decisions, situations, set plays, set pieces. That chemistry between them is great. I think there's maybe one standout Premier League partnership in history, right? If I said best central defensive Premier League partnership in history, and I'll be honest, it's not Arsenal, who'd you go to?
Well, I don't know because there's two.
Go on then, list them.
I'm going either Chelsea or Man United.
I say I wouldn't go Chelsea. John Terry, yeah, of course. Going... It's Vidic.
So what you go? Yeah.
So I look at those and go, I think if they stay with us, because they're both 24, like they're young. They got another 6. They got their prime years, and we're signed down to some level of contract. Look, we got
to win though, right? That's the thing. It really does need to result in trophies. That's
trophies is obviously going to be key, but you look at the potential there, and I think this is the strongest contender to that existing Premier League partnership that was. I don't like it. Just is an aggressiveness. There's a technical skill element to them. There's a strength skill. The chemistry, the way they play with each other, and the fact that they're clearly very good friends off the field. They were both playing in Liga and they both speak French. All of these things helped Saliba bed in the club when Gabriel was already there. They knew each other, and in that partnership, just gone from strength to strength. I think Arteta was asked, "When did you know that William Saliba was going to be Gabriel's starting centre-back partner?" And he went, "The moment I loaned him to Marseille." It was like before, like he knew what he was doing.
I mean, there's elements of some of the things Arteta says I think you take with a pinch of salt sometimes.
Yeah, of course. But...
there was talk about the phases of which through his plan that he's in. And most people talk about that we're in phase 4 because that's the feeling that we are, like, particularly if we're winning something. But he's like, I'm not, like, we're still in phase 3. And I think he is quite close guarded about some of these things, but like, I get your point.
Well, they asked him in the interview after Luton. It was kind of in the press conference. He went, "We can still improve," and they went, "Oh, what do you think you can improve in?" And he was like, "I'm not going to tell you that." He was like, he's the
type of boss you wouldn't want to work, right? Because you're like, I've just delivered you everything, and he's like, "Yeah, but you need to do this differently." For fuck's sake. Should we?
I wanted to go on. There was one thing about Gabriel in the actual game, rather than just talking about the chemistry. The celebration for the block. Did you like that? I celebrated it like it was a goal.
I mean, he does that so often.
I've never seen it like that before. The whole team came around him.
It's like that, but that's there. The thing is that Gabriel actually scores quite a lot of goals as well, so he probably is used to celebrating like that as well. Because he probably should have had one in the first minute.
I was about to say, should he have scored that?
It was a free header. It was like the only thing that calls out to me is that there's an element of him thinking that he's offside. Because the way they set up these set pieces is so odd. They're obviously like, I saw one team did do it against us where we play in front of the defense and then we come back in to get back on side, and the defense moved at the same time. So basically they just moved next to each other, and so there was no one to play them on side, and it was offside.
Yeah.
I think it was might be Villa or someone. But like, that's the only thing that I can think of that he thought he wasn't going to get it. But it's a free header. Should be hitting the target at least.
Yeah, I mean, I almost jumped out of my seat. I thought it was in, and I couldn't believe he'd missed it. When I saw the replay, the only thing I would say is that he's got such a finite angle, actually, because the way the keeper's coming out towards him, and he has to get it in exactly that gap. And I think that's what put him off. I also would be saying...
He's so dangerous from set pieces, though, right? He's like dead ball situations. He is he's scored a lot of goals this year, probably more than Anthony. Let us move a bit further up the pitch. Jace, I am a wordsmith. I am a poet. I am incredibly proud of this. When I said it to you, you looked at me like, "This is shit." which is fine. This segment is called Flying Without Wingers. It is a callback to the epic Westlife song because in my mind, there's a few players, well, Jesus in particular, to me, although has played on the wing, is not your standard left or right wing. We haven't really played him in that mold before the last two games, in my opinion. And maybe we've cottoned on to something. What do you think?
I think so, because so this is my thought. Man's got to score more. He's got to score more. He's effective from the left, and if that's the case, then he actually has to physically accept it. He's a rotational winger in the squad. He's not even a starter. Martinelli's starter if he's fit. His work rate was amazing. The way he kept winning the ball back in that little kind of bottom left-hand side of the pitch continuously, causing them havoc, and the work he did to win the penalty was brilliant. But on the other hand, he had quite a few clear opportunities in the first 30 minutes, and he couldn't convert any of them, right? So I definitely agree with your point that we cottoned onto something, but sometimes he still thinks he's a striker, and I'm like, well, then I need a goal, Jesus. So yes, I think we have cottoned onto something, but he has to be accepting of that because this has implications for him and his career as well. He wants to play for Brazil. He wants to play in the Brazilian national side. If he's not playing as a striker for Arsenal, is he playing as a striker for Brazil? Because he ain't going to get in the Brazil squad as a winger. Richarlison gets in over him. They got Vinny Jr. They got Rafinha. I don't know who else they got. They got loads of wingers.
Rodrigo? Is he Brazilian?
Yeah, Rodrigo. I think so. Martinelli. So, I mean, he doesn't really get picked, which is, good for us, I guess. But the point is, like, it genuinely is going to have an impact on his career. So, really happy with his performance as a winger today. I'm not necessarily happy with his performance as a striker because I think he had clear opportunities he could have taken. But he did great work to win the penalty. His effort and work ethic in that position has been great in every game he's played. It's just a case of, is he accepting of it? I'm not entirely sure. And that could cause us a problem, in the summer.
Well, I don't know if it, I feel he's a consummate professional, so he's going to do what he's basically asked and told to do by the manager. I don't think there's a bit of any petulance in there. I agree with you. Like, probably needs to do better. And needs to score more. But I do feel that coming in from the left, he does feel to be more involved. And I don't think you're usurping Havertz either as the striker at the moment. There's just so much. It's such an odd player. Such an odd player. I really still. Sometimes he goes down, and I'm like, why are you going down? And I can't tell if he's actually just trying to buy fouls or if he's like so gangly and tall that he legitimately can't stay on his feet because like any little nick or like touch on him and he'll go down. But he scored a poacher's goal today that Jesus is not scoring those type of goals, in my opinion. Jesus can kind of weave in and out of players as he has tried. He tried that today. He tried it against Luton, held onto the ball, in my opinion, far too long and couldn't release it, and is not scoring. He doesn't score the same kind of goals that Havertz is scoring now, and the way that our build-up play is allowing us to do. So I agree with your points.
Havertz was always a technically gifted player, right? It just lost it at Chelsea. He didn't have the right managers. He didn't have the right squad to play with. I think the way the style of football we play fitted that kind of player. So once he got his confidence back, he's hit the ground running. It took him a while to get his confidence and find the position, but he's slotted in it beautifully. He is now, he's one of the first names on the team sheet, I think, when he's fit in the moment. The amount of goals and assists that he's getting for us. I think that he's very hard for people to defend. Why? Because people don't expect necessarily a player who has maybe that appearance. So he's very tall, but as you say, he's quite thin. In regards to your classic, maybe tall striker who's
it's more like a basketball player than a footballer.
Yeah, his build is a bit unusual, and people don't expect someone to maybe have that much technical ability for that as well, and pace and strength. You remember, like, people didn't know how to deal with Peter Crouch, for example, and he's not obviously quite as tall as Peter Crouch, but he reminds me of that kind of thing. But people don't know how to deal with him. Like people didn't expect him to be that quick. Like today, like when he did find himself at the back, he suddenly was recovering in the defensive position. It was like, how did he catch up with him? People were threading balls through to him. Some of those finishes he's scored with his left foot when he's been had the ball threaded through from the midfield have been brilliant, and he's had the pace to hold off the defender and thread it in. So I don't think anyone's uprooting him. I think he brings something different. And the only thing is whether, with the winger situation, the interesting challenge is what we're doing in the striker position in the summer. He keeps seeing the rumours about I can't say his name, I'll murder it, but the 100 million euro striker, the release clause that scored more goals than Harry Kane this year. Apparently we're tipped to sign the guy from, I think it's Lisbon, is it?
Chorus or something like that. I can't remember what it is. I just know he does that. Say it. That's the only thing I know. Everyone's just like, it's all about that, because the Emirates is going to be like, that's going to be all over the shot if we get him.
But if we did bring in him or another striker, then the question really is, do we actually have the money for a winger? And that means Jesus then is a winger. Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, Trossard, Havertz.
It's going to be interesting.
And a striker. Yeah. So, which is great, right? It's the volume of attack that we needed.
It's a good problem to have. Like you say,
it's a great problem to have. It's a Liverpool Man City style problem to have. But yeah, it has a.
That's when a lot of it has to come into squad management, though, right? It's like, Pep particularly has been really good at managing egos and players. Particularly, you look at Grealish, who hardly gets a sniff in this team anymore. Doku is also one that kind of is in and out of games, yet that they've come to accept in the same way that you're saying the Jesus will come to accept, I suppose.
I don't
their part in a squad. Well, time will tell, I guess.
Let me tell you a reason why. I think he has belief in himself. He believes he is at a level. I believe he believes that he has a certain level of quality. And that belief drove him to leave Man City and go to Arsenal. So if the same thing happens to him again, what's to say that he's not going to want out? And we've not had to deal with that situation yet because we've been growing. But we are at that point where if we become successful, when I say, well, I think we are successful now, but successful in regards of trophy terms, I think there'll be a point when some players will like, right, I've done this with Arsenal, move on to the next thing. Or I'm not getting the game time. I want to go somewhere else. Jesus has already got 4 Premier Leagues, right? The only thing he's missing is the Champions League. I bet question mark, does he regret leaving City last season because he doesn't have a Champions League medal now? It was all those kind of things, right?
He's going to get it with us, Jace. What are you talking about?
I'm not saying he's not. But it's I bet those are all the things that are going through a player's head, right? And so that we've not dealt with that challenge yet. There'll be a point when players want to leave, because they either aren't getting the game time or they've won what they need to win with Arsenal. Now that they want to go and experience it in another country and do it in Barcelona or Madrid, or go and play for Juventus or PSG or whatever. And so we're going to have to deal with that at some point. I just hope it's not too soon.
Okay. I wanted to talk about, because we obviously talk about wingers. I talked a little bit about the first 15 minutes of this game, and I was worried because I was like, what has Saka done? The first 15 minutes, he was entirely absent, and I don't think he touched it twice. And I started to worry, and then he kind of got involved, and I felt he really grew into this game, and just maybe that's part of it coming back from injury, because obviously he did have a rest in midweek. I got the sense that maybe it was part of that, but as he grew into the game, the overlaps with Ben White, the connection with Odegaard down that side has been really, really good. The coldness of the penalty, for someone to come back from that miss, it could have destroyed many a penalty career for many players. I don't think he's missed since then, as far as I can recollect. And he is just, the thing I always look at sometimes, it's like a little run up. He doesn't look, he looks he doesn't look calm, in my opinion. He doesn't look worried, but he doesn't look calm at the same time. He looks very just stalwart, I guess. But he's putting them away, and they're really good bottom corner side netting penalties. They are, and he is just absolutely killer instinct, ruthless with those penalties, and he's just for a player still that talks about this, I know we're not going to talk about England because I don't want you to go into a whole Southgate bashing again, Jace. Although I'm obviously here for it. Foden, Saka, Palmer, the output of these players in the league at the moment is quite incredible to see, and I was quite happy to kind of see Saka just get on the score sheet and kind of get out from underneath what would have been a little bit of a niggle that he needed a rest back into scoring ways ahead of the Bayern Munich game.
Yeah, look, Saka is a guaranteed starter for England, right? He doesn't have to worry about his position in the England squad, and his consistency with us. He grows into games. I think he's being man-managed at the moment. I think it's probably the best way to describe it. He's being subbed off now, thank God, and that's not. I want him subbed off. I want to give the boy a rest. He's going to go to the Euros and play I wouldn't be surprised to see him play every minute of every game at the Euros. And then have a slow start to next season because he's exhausted. Because he is one of the first names on the starting team sheet for England. Him and Rice both are actually. So he grew into it today. I was a little. I mean, when he cuts in on his left, you just expect that. When it's in a
I am quite amazed that didn't go in.
I couldn't believe it didn't go in either. And that was because
that was the bit. I literally wrote a note going, Saka's been really absent, and it was literally within 30 seconds. And then I was about to eat my words, and then when he missed, I was kind of like, well, maybe I've manifested it.
I think that was the point when we messaged each other and I was like, that's 3 or 4 chances now, and we were like, we've got to score. Because it was a nervy start a little bit, and we were like, you've got to take one of these chances because we're gonna be eating our words. But yeah, look, I never fear from him from the penalty spot anymore. I think he had to go through an emotional barrier with England. Number of reasons he had to go through an emotional barrier. One, he took a penalty in a final that he missed and the team lost the Euros. 2, his age and maturity to take that penalty. And I think, how old was he when he took that penalty? He shouldn't have been taking that penalty.
21?
In my mind. No, younger than that.
Isn't that?
Yeah, younger than that. He shouldn't have been taking that penalty in the Euros. There were so many senior players that didn't step up to take a penalty in the Euros. And he stood up and took it. And we lost the final. And then the other thing I wanted to say was if I'm correct, I don't want to make assumptions. I think he took a lot of abuse, and the wrong type of abuse as well, right?
Oh yeah, as a young black individual, he took, and I remember because there was a video by the club where they did this whole wall of
the wall,
the letters and the cards and the various things from the fan base to bring him on side. It brought him to tears, as it would many, and it's not the type of abuse that anyone, regardless of color, race, or anything else, should be taken. And him at his age, like you say, there's many individuals, I suppose, that could say, I've had it throughout my career, throughout my life, and I've become more hardened or resilient to some of this kind of type of abuse, that he probably isn't mature enough nor had it for as long as maybe others may have. And how he dealt with it, like you say, the mental resiliency to deal with it is quite incredible.
But I think he's dealt with it really well. I mean, he is not a player that's actually in the limelight. Like Sterling, again, didn't deserve some of the things that happened to him from the press, but he for some reason was always in the limelight, and was criticized.
He got targeted a lot for his personal and family kind of stuff outside of it.
And I'm so glad that's not happening to Saka, because it could very easily have gone that way. And if he does something bad in England shirt, it could easily go that way with the way that the British press behave. But he grew from that experience, and Arsenal reaped the benefits of that, in my opinion. He's been the strong,
Star boy, Jace.
Character, ever since. Yeah, absolutely.
We had another winger. I don't know if you just want to mention anything on Trossard.
Yeah, I just very happy for Leo. I don't think he left Brighton right on the best circumstances. If I remember correctly, I mean, he was trying to leave before Arsenal came in for him. There was rumours of him going to Spurs. But, no class. Brighton are a classy club. But there was no class from them fans booing him as he came on the pitch. And he does what he does.
He didn't really celebrate either. He didn't do his usual thing when he did score either.
He put his arms out, didn't he? He put his arms out and
yeah, but I suppose it wasn't like. I suppose some people will go away going no, giving it the old shush and the hush. He didn't.
I think he didn't need to. He didn't need to give it the big to the fans, but he did. He didn't not celebrate either. And they booed him when he came on. They booed him pretty much every time he touched the ball, but he did what he did. He did what he does consistently, which is he came on and he made a difference. He always gets a goal. He gets an assist. He always comes on and does something. And that goal was beautiful. That lovely little dink over the keeper.
I like the fact when he took the extra kind of like drop of the shoulder to take like most
he dummied it
that first time and he kind of did it. That was really good.
Yeah. So I just want to say plaudits to him, flowers to him. No one likes to come back to their old club and have to be booed for however long. And
it's nice to stick it in their face a little bit when he scores a goal, though, isn't it? And players like him in the run-in that can change games when we need it off the bench.
Yeah, and he doesn't need to show it to the crowd, but he's got it in his head.
Banked it. Yeah. Let's. So that's enough about the game. Well, I was moving on to the parking lot. There's just one player that we didn't get the time to mention that I just wanted to say that I want to give a bit of flowers to. I thought Jorginho was really good in this game. I thought the thing that stood out to me most was his range of passing. I think he had a good range of passing, was able to unlock a lot of progressive passing, particularly in that single pivot kind of role while Rice was quite free to play. And so maybe I'm just not seeing that. I saw some kind of conversation on X that was talking about Partey was really, really good against Luton. I didn't personally see that, and I'm still not sure he's up to the speed of the game yet. And so it's good that we've still got Jorginho that can come in and do 80 minutes, like you say.
It was Luton.
Yeah.
So
you get what you paid for, basically.
Minutes.
Right. Yeah, we got Bayern on Tuesday. I think Bayern drew 2-2 today. I think that was when I saw the last. I'll double check.
I've been told no by our good friend.
They lost.
Yeah, they lost. Apparently they're resting up maybe for us. I mean, they know that as well, right? That's the only thing they've got to play for.
Well, because they can't win the league in Germany right now. I think it's
they mathematically can, but then they can't. I think Tuchel conceded last. Tuchel conceded last weekend. Pretty much. So it's done in the league for them. So they are resting up. They're gonna have their best team out. Now the question is whether their best team is better than our best team. I don't know. You never know what Bayern's going to turn up in the moment, if I'm completely honest. So they lost to Lazio, in the Champions League. Lazio aren't really, even from the Italian teams, they're not the team that I would be, a Napoli, yes, even, and well, maybe the squad's been a bit dismantled, but an Atalanta, an Inter Milan, yeah, but like Lazio, yeah, no, and they got beat by Lazio, they got dismantled by Leverkusen. I watched that game. I mean, Xabi Alonso is like Arteta, it's brilliant to watch. And you can see why Granit Xhaka went, like he wanted Granit Xhaka, and it was I'm really happy for Granit. How good is that? Granit's won the league. Harry Kane gets nothing.
And it also get his top goal scorer a little cannon trophy as well, which is even better.
You can't write that.
I mean, this game in particular is like something that we're going to need to take it to them at home, though, right? Because it changes the dynamics a little bit compared to the round of 16 before it, because we knew we were coming back to the Emirates, where the likelihood is our record and our crowd and everything, all of the fanfare, all of that is going to help us move in the right direction. This one is different. We're going to have to come out and we're definitely going to need to score. in my opinion. And we
100%.
would likely, I would say, going into an away leg with like a 2-goal cushion would be ideal for me. I don't think a 1 goal is going to help us. I feel it needs to be more than that in order for us to be feeling like we can do it.
You know what I want, right?
Well, 5-6.
3. I always want 3.
3 will do.
3 will do. But genuinely, like, as you say, you don't know what Bayern are going to turn up, but and so it's very hard. And yeah, you're right there. We need to go hard, and I don't see a reason why we can't play the way we play in the Premier League against Bayern. I just don't. I don't see why we can't do that. Yeah, we have to be cautious that we can be susceptible to being punished as well. The other end, they've got some very good attackers. Harry Kane. They've got Musiala. You can have Sane. You know, Gnabry or Muller. So they've got unlimited Coman. They've got unlimited riches themselves. But if I think about the game I watched when Leverkusen played Bayern Munich, they played a beautiful level of football. I find Arteta ball and Xabi ball quite similar. There are a lot of similar aspects to that. And if we can come out with our intensity and the way that we play at home, we could dismantle them quite quickly and just knock the confidence out of them and kill it. And I think that's what we have to do.
Yeah, we have to play with that belief.
I'll be disappointed if we don't do that.
Really, I'd be concerned and worried. Like in the similar veins, I think we all thought the Porto result with the sucker punch in the 90 whatever minute it was awful. But I think most of us were kind of like feeling enough was that they won't be able to do that to us at home. And they tried, but you know, we were able to get it over the line, albeit on penalties. I don't think they'll approach this game in the same way, in my opinion. And I think, like you say, we're going to need to know. And there's also like, you know, we are, albeit even if we are, you know, not favourites, but like our form and everything is telling a story that we're ready for this. But ultimately, we're still underdogs. This is the first time in many years we've been in this position, playing against opposition that has absolutely like spanked us before. There's going to be scar tissue and old memories that are going to reoccur from that situation. That means that these players are going to need to be up for it. We're going to need to be scoring goals. We're going to need to be on our A game. I'm excited. I'll give you that.
You really think that? Underdogs?
I think that maybe not between us as fans. That I feel the media, there's still an element that we're not as good as people make us out to be. That our results make us out to be. I still feel that the first sign of a chink in our armor, a bad result or a bad performance, individuals like Neville are going to be on us.
I don't listen to that rubbish. Yeah, no, I mean, fair point, but yeah, I don't know. I think there are 3 big teams in Europe: City, Arsenal, and Madrid. That's the 3 big teams left in Europe.
Ironically, knock each other out on one side of the draw.
I was about to say they messed that up, the Champions League draw, haven't they? Jesus, like, because the other side's like Milan, Atletico, Dortmund, and why can't I not remember the other? Napoli? No, they're out. They're out.
PSG?
No, they got Barcelona.
Is that on our side? Yeah.
Oh no, it can't. It can't be, can it?
No, it can't be. So it must be that side.
So is it Atletico, Dortmund? So Atletico must have beat Inter Milan.
Yeah, and then it'd be PSG, Barca.
Atletico, Dortmund, and PSG, Barca. Yeah, I mean, the only team you really would probably say would be Barca. I mean, they gave us an okay game in the pre-seasons when we beat them 5-3.
They're not Barcelona of old though, right? This is
they're not
a different Barcelona.
They're not. Yeah, I mean the better side of the draw is all the teams that I think are fancied maybe to win it are on one side of the draw, which isn't great for UEFA, but who cares? Starting lineup, come on, Martinelli back in.
Well, this is the thing. Jesus is a Champions League ball player. Loves the Champions League. Has scored quite a lot of goals for us in the Champions League. Performed at that level for Man City. Martinelli didn't look quite enough minutes in the legs for me yet, so I don't think so.
All right.
I think we do the same team as we did today, barring we would swap Zinchenko and Kiwior, and I still think Jorginho plays.
That's the Jorginho one that worries me a little bit. Legs. That really worried me. I was like,
Well, you have a ready-made replacement if you need to. So, it's there if we need it.
Fair enough.
What do you think then? Do you think different? Do you think Martinelli's going to come straight back in?
I mean, I'd like to have seen him come straight back in, but I think you're probably right with your assumptions.
I don't think when he was off the bench today, I don't feel like there was a lot. I mean, there wasn't a lot to see, admittedly, and we were kind of the game was dead, pretty much.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it. And I think, was he playing when he came on? Did he play as right wing because Trossard was left?
Yeah, he played right. He played right.
Not his usual. Yeah, which is not his usual.
And he shouldn't play there.
No, so
in my opinion,
maybe there's an element of that as well. So maybe he is ready. Maybe it was enough. But like, I just feel that usually Arteta is usually a form standard, regimented kind of starting lineup kind of manager, in my opinion. If those players are fit, so let's see.
Fair enough. All right.
Well, we're going to look forward to Tuesday. We'll be back again on the pod to review that game at some point to go through it. Until then, what do we want our audience to do when they're watching our vids, Jace?
Yeah, guys, if you're enjoying this and you're listening to the full episode, please leave comments. We still would be happy to answer questions and engage with you. Leave us a like if you're on the YouTubes. Give us a subscribe if you're on the YouTubes. What about podcast, Grev?
Please continue to add to our 5-star reviews on Spotify. Make sure you give it a follow on Spotify so you'll get our latest episode straight into your feed as soon as it's ready. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, do exactly the same. And like I said, we'll be back after every single game. So we'll be back again in midweek to talk about the Bayern game. Me and Jace are going to the Emirates next week to go and see the Villa game. So we'll be back again after that game. So please do tune in. And hopefully you have an enjoyable rest of your weekend. And come on, Man United.
I'm not going to say it, but yeah, I don't believe they're going to do it. But please do it, Man United.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.